Hello and welcome to another Andy's Chomping at the Bit. It's Friday, and Andy's Chomping at the Bit is brought to you by Big Andy Media, the official sponsor of every Andy's Chomping at the Bit Friday episode. So, without further ado, let's go into the topic of ego. Um, this is a topic that I can honestly say that I do struggle with, um, as many addicts do. Though I would say that mine carried beyond simply the addiction for quite a while in some areas. So, being an entertainer and an athlete, it it kind of was part of my life back then, and and it cost me some opportunities in life. I mean, that's putting it lightly. Um, but it really was amplified once I um, went down that dark road um, with my addiction. Um, because when I needed help, there was points where I kind of knew that I needed help, or I knew I had a problem, but like I didn't think I needed any help. Um, One of those things I thought with the right training, the um, right knowledge, I could simply get on my own feet, manage it. I didn't want to quit it at that time because I didn't think I really needed to. I thought I just had to learn how to manage it. Um, and well, fast forward, it didn't work out that well. So, um, yeah, I had to swallow that pride. Put my ego aside a little bit and ask for help. Realize I had a problem because I didn't want to admit that. I didn't want to admit that I was wrong, and that's kind of the thing with ego. If it gets too big, you don't think you're wrong. You won't admit you're wrong. Sometimes I wonder if people get um, other other things confused with ego, because it is one of those things that you know it, it it it's tough to address sometimes. I guess for a lot of people, it's tough for me a lot, because when we admit we have, the only thing harder than admitting you have a problem is admitting you have a big ego and that it didn't go away after you admit you have a problem. You pulled it in a little bit, but it's still there. Um, and so, for instance, in my case, do I still have an ego? Yeah, I have an ego. Um, is it big? I hope not. I try to keep it in check. I know that it's there, because essentially your ego is how you view yourself, your value, your worth, well, more so the value, um, and significance. And I know that I do have significance. I know that I do have value and I have worth. But keeping it in a healthy perspective, I feel that's where I have struggled in the past. There's been times where I've put way too much value on myself. Like I said, performing arts, I'd always put a value on myself much higher than I probably should have. Um, Athletics, without a doubt, I did, and at times I do, even with my with knowledge, because um, I do remember things a lot more thoroughly, a lot easier than a lot of people. But not by all means, I'm not a genius. By all means, I'm um, not trying to say I'm smarter than anyone else, because I'm not. I'm smarter than some, but there's a lot of people smarter than me too. It's just the way I record memory, I guess. Record things in my head. Um, I learned it from school. I learned it from my first day at Specs Howard. So, anyway, I could do a whole thing on that, but it's one of those things that I do have to check myself from time to time, because I know that it can cause problems. My ego can. I know that it can rub people the wrong way if I express myself poorly. It can hurt people if I express myself poorly. It can hurt me even if I express it poorly. Um, so, but I want to also get at that you need, or at least I feel that it's necessary to have at least a little bit of an ego. And I don't know. I think that every time people hear ego, they automatically assume you're referring to overinflated, a huge ego, which where you won't deny any wrongdoing. You won't admit that you have any kind of problem. Somehow, if you said the wrong thing, it's you know, even if someone proves you're wrong, you're not wrong, kind of deal. Uh, People assume that's ego, period. But that's really just a huge overinflated ego, because at least by the definition, it's how one sees their self, and as far as their value, their worth, their significance. Um, so you have to have some self esteem. You have to have self worth, and that falls into ego. It's just like I said, keeping it in check, not thinking that if you do something, the entire world is going to be impacted. And if you do something else, the world is going to go completely different. It's not how it is. Um, and no ego at the other end of the sword is thinking that no matter what you do, no matter how you do it, you're not going to get the result you want. That you're insignificant. No one's going to care whether you do this or not, whether you do well or you struggle, whether you live or die. You feel that everything's fine, and no one's going to notice, no one's going to care, and that's not true either. That's like I said, you need some ego. You have to understand your value, and everyone does have value. That's whether you like someone or not. Someone might not have value to you, but they will have value to someone else, and it's not always easy to see or swallow. Um, but I mean, not everything in life is easy to see and swallow. Um, so learning for me, learning to find the balance in it, learning to understand that you know that confidence can drive me. It can drive me to do a lot of good things. But if I let the confidence turn to cockiness, if I if I start telling myself or start believing that only I can get something done, only I can make the change, and nobody else knows what they're talking about. Nobody else could possibly have a clue what's going on in certain areas of life. That's where that's where you can get in trouble. That's where I have gotten in trouble in the past. I mean, I don't know if I'd go quite to the extreme I just gave as far as the entirety of the thought process, but I have had that those moments where I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do it because you're clearly not going to be able to do it yourself. I've had those moments, uh, and unfortunately, people suffer when you have those moments because it can be condescending and degrading to people, and you're selling people short. Everyone can do. You know, there's nothing that you can do that someone else cannot do. Okay. Now you may have something that very very few people can do, but there's always someone else out there who can do what you can. Okay. Just like there's always someone who's worse at something than you are. You know, for instance, I'm a horrible golfer. Found out yesterday that there's someone out there that's worse than I am. They hit a golf ball clear out of the course, across the road, and probably about 5-10 feet off the road. It's amazing no car got hit. It's a busy road, but so someone's worse at me than golf, and I didn't think that existed until, at least not in the area, until yesterday. Flip it around to let's go to music. Excellent singer. I feel I'm an excellent songwriter as well. But there are people out there that are both better singers and better songwriters. Without a doubt, better piano players. I won't even try claiming that one. But you know, it's the reality of it. I can comfortably say that my singing and my songwriting is better than a lot. I'd argue that it's better than most people. I won't go as far as saying it's better than most performers, because that once again is a very, very controversial area going into that. But I will say it's better than a lot. Um, but the point is, there's things that my biggest strength. There's someone. I shouldn't say it's my biggest strength, but one that sticks out easily. There's other people that are better than me at it. It's reality. Yeah, I'm better than a lot, but there's people better than me. Same with my worst thing. And I will say that golfing is probably my worst thing. If I hit the ball on the first swing, I feel pretty well. If the ball goes more than 10 feet, I feel really well. If the ball goes straight, well, I'll let you know when that happens. Until then, I'm just happy hitting the ball. But there's someone worse than me. So that's the happy part of it for me. I'm not the worst. But yeah, so you have to have that balance. And like I said, I'm just now starting to understand it a little bit. And I'm working on that. That's probably one of the more challenging things for me. Is learning how to manage that sweet spot for ego. And it's uncomfortable. I won't lie about that. It's very uncomfortable because I know that it's something I've struggled with on both ends of it, lacking or having too much. But I guess that's one thing I can comfortably say is you have to take on the uncomfortable if you want to grow in that area. And so, like I said, it's uncomfortable. That's why even talking about it right now, because I know that I am probably one of the least qualified people to go into depth on this topic. But I need to start talking about it. I need to start focusing on it if I want to continue to grow. If I want to get that in check, get myself balanced. That has been my drive for over a year now, is balance. And coming up on my 2-year anniversary for Clean Time in about a month, actually September 7th, so almost exactly a month. Coming up on that Clean Time, and I'm thinking, for when I set my general goal again for going forward, there's a good chance I'm going to set it to be the exact same thing I had, as far as the mentality is that balance. There's going to be more social aspects I'll be pushing towards, but I don't know. It's focusing on finding balance across the board has been really beneficial. Next week I'll probably just do a topic on balance. I could go probably 30 minutes on that. I'll try not to. But anyway, relating to ego, that's where it plays a factor. You got to have, in my experience, my opinion, you have to have some bit of ego. You just can't let it control you. You just can't let it get out of control. You got to have something to keep you in check, whether it be, I feel it's got to be something that you can do within, because there are times where no one's going to be there to put you in check. And there's going to be times where no one's going to help you up when you're lacking your ego. So I don't have the answer to that one. I wish I did, but I don't. I will be looking into it, though. Hopefully I can do another episode in the future on ego, and I will have the answer to it. But that one's not today. So, but that's a nutshell of where I'm at right now with that. Like I said, it's a struggling one. But things will get better. There's always a brighter tomorrow. So, with that, I will wrap things up. Once again, Andy's Chomping at the Bit is brought to you by Big Andy Media, the official sponsor of every Andy's Chomping at the Bit Friday episodes. Also, coming forward, either by today or tomorrow, I will have bigandymedia.com up and running. And we're starting through it a Singing for a Cause series, which is going to be a charity series where every month I plan on switching to a different charity nonprofit to essentially bring awareness and help raise money for. And I haven't heard back from them, but I'm hoping I can lock in Shriners Children's hospitals, because I've been reading a lot about them and I really like what they've been doing. And there's other great ones too. St. Jude's is another great one. But Shriners is the one I've taken the time to email, at least. So I'm hoping I can hear back from them and get their approval. They're okay for it. But essentially what that will be is, as far as the show, it's going to be a section on bigandymedia.com where you will be able to purchase music. As of right now, it'll be my original album. If I might add more music to that, personal music to that as well later on. And if there's any artists out there that are willing to have a few songs available on there for this, I would appreciate that as well. Essentially, any money that's raised under that section, which everything is a pay what you want for that. 100% of the proceeds of that part of the page will go to the charity of the month. In addition, on the first and third Sunday of every month, I plan on from 11 to 1 o'clock doing a live musical performance where people will have the ability to request songs, and in order to request a song, you will make a donation or a tip, however you want to look at it, and with that, the donations, tips that are generated from that, half of those will go to, once again, to that charity of the month that's being spotlighted. The other half will go to Big Andy Media to assist with being able to continue providing people with not just podcasts, but more on the music side, and to help develop the real big picture, which is the video and animation side of things, which is going to be really exciting. I have a lot of stuff in the works. It's going to be fun to show, but that's for another time. So thank you for watching. Thank you for being supportive, and always have a great weekend. Take care.